Feeling behind does not always mean you are failing. Some people enter adulthood believing life is moving faster for everyone else. Their friends have stable careers, relationships, homes, families, and direction. Meanwhile, they are still experimenting, questioning, and searching for something that fits. That difference in pace can create the belief that something is wrong. But moving slowly is not the same as developing poorly. Sometimes a person is growing along a different timeline, while another is avoiding action through fear. The question is whether uncertainty is teaching you something or keeping you stuck. Some people reach milestones early without asking whether the life they built is theirs. Subscribe to Thalvin Psychology for insights into the patterns shaping your life. Carl Jung's ideas suggest that some people are not meant to discover themselves early. They cannot choose a path, commit to it, and disappear into a role. Their process of self-understanding is slower, more conflicted, and easily mistaken for failure from the outside. They may change careers, leave relationships, or abandon goals they once pursued for years. This does not mean they are smarter, rarer, or more special than everyone else. The difference is often that they struggle to remain inside choices that conflict with their deeper values. They are more sensitive to the feeling of living a life that does not belong to them. Before they fully commit, they need to understand why something matters. That search for meaning can create depth, but it can also delay action and make their path appear uncertain. Jung used the term persona to describe the identity we present to the outside world. It helps us gain acceptance, fulfill social roles, and meet the expectations of family, school, and work. A persona is not automatically false or harmful. It allows people to function, cooperate, and adapt to different environments. The problem begins when someone wears that social mask for so long that they can no longer separate it from their real self. A person may choose a stable career to satisfy their parents, act outgoing to succeed at work, or remain in a marriage to protect the image of a perfect family. They may chase a high salary even while the job leaves them empty. The persona becomes dangerous only when there is no life, desire, or identity left outside the role. Until then, it remains a tool. Some people build a persona quickly and move through their 20s with confidence and momentum. They collect the usual signs of success, including a respected title, a strong income, social status, marriage, or property. From the outside, their life may appear complete. Yet, a crisis can emerge later when they realize that the life they built is real, but not necessarily chosen with awareness. Getting what you wanted does not always create happiness, especially when those desires were planted by family, culture, or expectation. A useful question is this: if no one could see, praise, or judge your choices, would you still want the life you are living? That question exposes the difference between achievement and authenticity. Early success can be impressive, but it cannot answer whether the identity underneath it has ever been examined. Some people understand life by acting first and adjusting later. Those with a strong inner world often move differently. They need time to think, analyze, and understand the meaning of a choice before they act. They do not only ask, "Can I do this?" They also ask, "Does this fit who I am? And do I truly want this, or do I only want approval?" In a culture that rewards speed, this kind of reflection can look like indecision. But deep reflection is not the same as overthinking. Reflection clarifies values and eventually leads to a decision. Overthinking repeats the same fear without producing movement. Healthy reflection has an endpoint, while avoidance uses thought as a reason not to choose. That distinction matters. A slower decision can be wise, but endless hesitation should not be romanticized as depth. Real self-awareness eventually asks you to act on what you have understood. Insight becomes meaningful through action. These people may nearly commit to a career, a relationship, or a version of themselves, only to feel a quiet resistance rising from within. They cannot always explain it, so they try, stop, begin again, and change direction. From the outside, this can look like a lack of discipline or an inability to build a stable life. Over time, they may start believing that judgment. Before leaving, they need to ask 3 honest questions. Am I walking away because this choice is wrong for me, or because it has become difficult? Am I repeating the same pattern of quitting in different situations? Have I given this path enough time to develop? Not every discomfort is a sign to leave. Sometimes discomfort means growth, and sometimes it reveals a deeper conflict with your values. The challenge is learning to tell the difference before making a turn. Jung called the process of becoming your authentic self individuation. It is not simply about discovering the perfect career or choosing a lifestyle that feels comfortable. Individuation means recognizing, confronting, and integrating the different parts of yourself, including the parts you once hid to gain acceptance. For some people, the most important work happens during years that appear unproductive from the outside. Beneath the surface, they may be learning their limits, forming values independent from family and society, tolerating uncertainty, and recognizing repeated patterns in their choices. Their standards for work, relationships, and identity may also become clearer. It is like a tree that appears to grow slowly because its energy is being used to strengthen the roots, but stagnation should not be romanticized. Inner development matters only when it eventually becomes visible through decisions, boundaries, and action. The goal is not to remain hidden forever. It is to build enough inner stability to move outward without abandoning who you are. Otherwise, reflection can become another shelter from the risks required for a meaningful life. Some people notice the gap between what others say and what they truly want. They can sense emptiness beneath goals that everyone else seems excited to pursue. They recognize status games, hidden motives, performances, and expectations that are never spoken aloud. Once they see these patterns, participating without hesitation becomes difficult. But seeing problems does not mean they are correct. Deep thinkers can become overly suspicious, assume they alone understand the truth, or confuse pessimism with wisdom. They may also use analysis to avoid vulnerability, closeness, and the risk of being misunderstood. Maturity requires more than exposing what is false. It also requires learning how to remain connected in an imperfect world. A person can recognize manipulation without becoming cynical, notice shallow behavior without rejecting everyone, and protect their values without isolating themselves. Depth includes discernment, humility, and the ability to participate without losing yourself. When someone feels disconnected from the values around them, loneliness can appear even in a crowded room. This becomes dangerous when they abandon their inner life just to be accepted. The desires, emotions, and traits they reject do not disappear. In Jung's terms, they may move into the shadow, the part of the psyche pushed outside conscious awareness. Later, the shadow can return as resentment, envy, bitterness, or the feeling of being trapped in a life they never truly chose. It may appear when someone reacts strongly to people who live more freely, hides envy behind criticism, feels unexplained anger toward family, or constantly imagines another life. Some people even succeed outwardly while secretly wishing everything would collapse so they could begin again. However, prolonged isolation, loss of interest, and hopelessness can also signal mental health difficulties. They should not automatically be romanticized as psychological awakening. Sometimes pain is meaningful, and sometimes it needs support. As the need for approval weakens, comparison loses its power. A person starts asking, what truly belongs to me? For those who built an identity quickly, this shift may feel like a crisis. For those wrestling with these questions for years, it can feel like relief. The years that once looked slow may reveal their purpose. Notice which parts of your life were chosen mainly to earn acceptance. Then write down the values that remain important across different stages of life. Choose one action that reflects who you are now instead of redesigning everything at once. Protect your sleep, reduce overstimulation, and manage stress so you can distinguish intuition from anxiety and exhaustion. Maybe you were never late. Maybe you were building an identity strong enough to survive a life that is actually your own. Subscribe to Thalvin Psychology for deeper insights into becoming yourself.